Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Ultimate Woman. And today we have Aleana back for a part two. Welcome, Aleana.
Hi, Nikki. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. And today's a very special day because today is also the first day that you've started one-to-one work with me. And I know that was one of your goals for some time. So congratulations on fulfilling that goal.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what I want to do today is really share with everyone like the journey that you've been on, the before, the after. And you've been in the Ultimate Woman for how many months now?
Since March. So 4 months,
Okay.
4 or 5 months.
5 months. Yeah, amazing. So Aleana did decide to stay on after her 3 months. The 3 months were complete. And because she continued to up level and up level and up level. And her results are incredible. And I want to share about some more today. So let us begin with your home goal. So
Okay.
what was your goal when you first started the Ultimate Woman?
I knew my husband was transferring communities, so I knew we needed to buy a house. So we had to really get the specific number, like of how much the house was going to cost. Yeah.
I think just to show the women and what a powerful manifestor you are, I think like share all the details because I think that is part of the beauty of like how your results have been like, wow.
Okay. When we first started looking, we were looking at like the 380 to like low 400 range to buy a house. So that was what we started looking at. And as I went through the program, I was encouraged to write down my list of very specific things that I wanted. And there were some really beautiful houses that were really out of our price point. And my husband is very careful with money. So me dreaming big was not fully in line with who he is. And as we were looking, and I just kept steady to what I wanted in a house, one of his investments matured and became available. And he came to me and said, "Oh, like we can start looking like in the fives, like the $500,000 range." And this house we're actually living in was like a dream house. I had seen it. I was like, "This beautiful. It's just not going to be for us because it was close to $600,000." And so we looked at it, we fell in love with it. We happened to have enough to put down a small down payment on a house. So we went forward with that. And his dad found out about it. We shared it with our in-laws. And he gifted us $35,000. And I was telling my mom about this generous gift, and we had enough of a big down payment. And in Canada, there's a mortgage insurance. We don't have 20% down. And so she thought that was very ridiculous and then loaned us $15,000. We would have enough money for a 20% down payment for a house that was far beyond our greatest dreams at that point in time.
Amazing. And what about the date of movement and all that and your goals?
So when I was in the Ultimate Woman program, my first few months, I arbitrarily picked the date May 31st, 2021. And our possession date was May 26th. So 5 days before.
And you moved in also before.
Yes. Yeah. I started living there. My husband was working in the other community, so I started living there on the 26th.
Wow. So you manifested your dream house 4 days before the date that you set the goal for.
Yes.
Amazing. And it was like your dream house. It wasn't even a house you settled for. It was like all the things you wanted. I mean, and before that you were renting, right? And you didn't think ever you could maybe get this house.
Absolutely. It was out of what was possible for us. So it was really magical the way it all came together. And it's just really beautiful.
Amazing. Yay. Next, I want to go into your business because I feel like you have been a really beautiful example of manifesting in all the areas of your life, like your ultimate life. So I'm going to share a brief little synopsis, but I want you to share deeper, Aleana. So when I met Aleana, she was working in a shared office, and then we started working together in the Ultimate Woman. She opened up her first office all to herself, moving from 1,200 square feet to 4,000 square feet just for her, whereas before it was shared. And she used to tell a funny story about her office was kind of like in a kitchen. And then she now has like her own beautiful office where she has like an altar inside the cabinet. And then you ended up opening a second office already.
Yes.
And I was like, what? So like collapsing time, like 3 and 5 year goals happening now.
Yes.
Amazing. So I want to hear a little bit of that. Like what happens? Like how did this all come to be?
So as Nikki said, the first office was a really interesting, quirky space, and we signed a 2-year lease. And we had just reopened with in-person sessions after COVID. And we started, as I got to start working with Nikki before the Ultimate Woman, and then also during the Ultimate Woman, we started getting busier, which is a byproduct of working with her. And I talked to my landlord saying, like, I'm running out of space, like we need more. And at that point in time, he recommended the building we're currently in, saying, well, like, what about this one instead? Which was like 4 times the space, a really great deal. He's like, okay. And so when he bought the building for us to be our land, he bought it for us. There was a zoning kerfuffle where it was an industrial building, and I had interns coming, so I needed the building at a certain date, and the zoning was supposed to take 3 months. And so I went through all the different channels I knew to get the zoning changed or to see if we could finagle something. Nothing worked, but I held fast and talked to my unseen support team saying, like, I need this date, I really need it. And my landlord calls me up and he says, guess what? There's a temporary zoning license. And so we got the zoning right in time. We were able to move in at like the perfect time. And so that was phenomenal. And I worked part-time for myself. And then I also worked part-time for a school district. My school district job was coming to a close in a different community. And the program was ending. I was sad about that, wanting to still give to the community. And my admin at that time came to me and said, we're not continuing the program within the district. However, we have this contract for $40,000. We'd like you to continue this program in the community, which is how I went and have a second clinic and a second community, which essentially, with different funding sources, doubles our clinical income now. So that's why I have 2 giant clinics.
Wow. So you've doubled your income in your clinics. You started receiving more clients.
Yes.
You obviously needed a bigger space. You got these government contracts. You didn't even apply for them. They just like came to you.
Yes.
Amazing. And one of your goals, you don't have to share the details of that, but one of your goals was an increase in money as well. So you also raised your rates, right?
I used to charge, when I first met Nikki, I charged so the going rate in British Columbia where I live is $140 to $170 an hour for speech language pathologists. And I was charging $100. As she's looking very disturbed over there. And so with her encouragement, I upped it to $150. And in September, it'll be $160. So I'm well within like one rate. And a lot of that was thanks to her coaching and just encouraging me and helping me move through a lot of my money blocks, my mental blocks to manifesting my abundance.
Beautiful. So. Yeah. And I feel like part of that work too was like your boundaries and setting some standards within like business standards, like your boss lady standards. And also I felt like it was even getting organized and really starting to run a real business, because before it was kind of just like a one-woman show. And how did that even happen with your staffing?
So I had one main staff member at the time when I first met you, and then I had some staff start trickling back after COVID. I hired a receptionist who's been wonderful and I can delegate so many things to her, and she's excited about it, which I love. And I've just had more staff like be attracted and like interested in working. And even for the second clinic, I was able to ask like my best people that I knew at the school district to come work for me, and they've said yes. So I've been able to attract like the best of the best to work for me, who are motivated and excited to continue to do the work.
Amazing. So you're creating your own speech pathology empire.
Yes.
That's amazing. I love that. And what about your husband? Like, how has he fit in the mix? I remember, I think the last video you were sharing that like you were making maybe 5 times more than him at some point. So
Just trying to calculate it out right now.
yeah. So you're the breadwinner really at this. Oh, he say a joke of like that his job is just a hobby or something?
Yes, he did. He was looking at me one day and he was like, "Oh, like I don't have to work." I'm like, "No, not really." I think now I make 6 times more than he does.
Amazing. So good. And how has your relationship been with him? Because I know that's how we found each other really was first you came for couples coaching and and I'm going to just share, we talked about this last time, but essentially you were like a sexless marriage that turned into like 3 to 4 hour rituals. And when you like sex rituals, which is beautiful, and you really stepped into a tantric relationship. And I remember when you went through the female modules, like the more feminine ones, you actually had like your first vaginal orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that was something you hadn't experienced before. And so, like, how has the relationship between you guys continued to evolve?
I come from a very prudish background. I come from my parents are both pastor kids, so I was even looking at a book yesterday that I read growing up. And I was like, wow, I've come really far because I've rejected a lot of that programming. So my comfort talking about sex, and it's been really refreshing to have like another woman to go to, or even like couples coaches to talk about sex, because everyone has sex but doesn't get a lot of feedback and outside input on sex in a healthy, collaborative way. So it's maybe more open about that. I'm excited and I guess the opposite of ashamed. So I guess more alive in how I express my sexuality and sensuality, and being comfortable by knowing that I am sensual and sexual and it's okay and it's powerful, and using it to fill my life. My husband's a relatively high stress job, and so the techniques we've learned in tantric coaching help us to connect faster, and we have better tools to communicate. When we're squabbling, we can stop and just like eye gaze, like, okay, we're all right. And even just different kinds of sex that we have. I guess vaginal orgasms, and then also squirting, we're more comfortable with that. And even just practicing with different energies during sex has been really powerful for us, just learning to know each other in a different way. So,
yeah. And
I was going to say something else. We practice is polarity work. So we have a tendency to often like be in our best friend energy, so both in our feminine poles, or when we're doing business things together, we're both in our masculine poles. And so I've really learned how to surrender and soften and actively engage my feminine side so we can polarize each other, which helps with our attraction and sexual energy with each other when we're having ritual time.
So beautiful. You teach it so beautifully. I feel like you've really integrated everything I've shared with you on that. And just to hear you explain it so beautifully. And I trust that's even going to be a takeaway for people in relationship right now to understand that exists, because a lot of people don't know about polarity and about how women or the person who wants to be feminine in the relationship, really it's our job to be that feminine nature in our feminine nature, and how the modules really teach that. And I know when we had our first interview, you were still in the beginning of the program, and those modules come later in the program, and you really blossomed into your feminine radiance. Like, your hair, you've gotten your hair done, you wear flowy dresses now. We were talking about that too, like the transformation from then to now. And so how do you feel in your body compared to when you started?
I feel like I'm allowed to take up space in the way that I want to take up space.
Beautiful. And you also mentioned you're like getting dressed up for work, you've told me, and even for our calls. I feel like every time you come on, I'm like, look at you. Like,
So one of the other coaches, Amber, I came with a question because I was coaching twice a week in the Ultimate Woman, and it was feeling embarrassed about wearing heels to work. And so she intuited that was probably a reflection of just me in general, feeling uncomfortable with expressing myself femininely. So after that call, I went and I was like, you know what, no one's gonna see me. I'm gonna get all dressed up, do my hair, do my makeup, wear the stilettos I really want to wear, and go gas up my car. And I did that, and it felt like it just up-leveled my energy. And so I've been wearing heels to work, I've been wearing dresses, even taking care of like my nails, my hair, my lashes, things like that, just to embody the feminine and not be ashamed for wanting to look feminine, and knowing that there's power and like authority in being very feminine, and it's okay and it's safe. So that's been a really beautiful transformation that I didn't anticipate happening, but that I really love about the program.
Yeah. So it sounds like you really stepped into the ultimate woman that you are.
Yes.
So beautiful to see that. I'm so happy. I'm like literally sitting here like in awe. And the other thing I wanted to also touch upon was even like you had an enhancement with your relationship with your parents, even like, you know, there is the lover module that's about relationships in general and communication. And you did have a breakthrough with your mother recently. So maybe you want to share a little bit about that if you'd like.
So again, my parents come from a different mindset, a different paradigm, and that often clashes with me as I am now. And my mom would come up to visit to help us unpack and get our house all settled, which was really lovely and generous of her. And she made several comments on my embodiment, which hurt and made me uncomfortable and tested my boundaries. And so we happened to have a coaching call while she was here. And in that call, I was really encouraged to have a really honest, open conversation with her about how that made me feel. Step into my feminine by like emoting, showing how that made me feel, and expressing my side. And so after the call, we went for a walk, and I was able to open up and share that with her and really have this lovely heart to heart. And in that heart to heart, she blessed me in ways I didn't expect to hear, and really called out my true nature that she's always seen with her stuff, but parts of me that I'd forgotten about. She was able to like call out and encourage. So that was really good.
So beautiful to hear. I love it because so many people, women, men in general, just suffer in family dynamics, and it's a beautiful way to show that doesn't have to be forever. Like we can do the healing work and we can evolve ourselves, and the way we show up actually transforms our relationships. And I love that this program is so well-rounded that we really do go into every part of life. And even with that, like I want to just touch upon like your powerful manifestation skills. Want to end with that. Like, let's say like you the friend thing. Let's talk about like the friend group. Let's talk about you just manifesting $10,000 one day. Like what else? You've been on fire. Or even like manifesting signing up for one-to-one work and then having your biggest month at work yet. So like, yeah, like I just think you've been like on fire. So let's talk about that.
I'll start with the $10,000. So one day I was driving to work in the other community, and I was repeating the money affirmations, and I'd been encouraged to just like ask for what I wanted. And so I thought, well, why not? I want $10,000 today. And I was in the morning, and I was like 8:30 in the morning, and I didn't think anything of it. I went and I did my job. And I think around 3:30, I get a phone call. And we'd applied for a government grant as a COVID small business COVID relief grant. And the lady called me, she asked some clarifying questions, and she said, "Oh, you've been approved for $10,000. And I was like, oh, there it is. That works.
Yeah.
And I've noticed the longer I stay in the program, even my thoughts start materializing. It can be small things from like, I'd love to hear this song on my playlist next, and it comes onto my playlist. Even friends, my husband and I have just moved to this community, and we're foodies. We love food. We love cooking and sharing food together with people. And his new set of coworkers happens to be foodies. They happen to love cooking with different spices. We just learned that they pick a country once a month, and then they cook food from this country and bring it all together. And I love playing board games, which is something my husband and I love doing. And it's this really lovely, very welcoming community that we've craved for a long time. And I feel like I manifest things every day. So it's become part of my life. So I'm not thinking of specific examples right now, but it's just so easy. It really doesn't feel like a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's almost like I feel like you learned a new way of living and being, that you've even gotten your husband on board, right? So talk about a little bit how like you just going through your transformation has shifted him, and he has participated too. Because I know this is something that a lot of women who come to me, like their partner's in a different place, like maybe their partner doesn't understand. And since you guys have done some coaching work in terms of a couples work, he's gotten some taste of it, but really you've brought him in, like even with the rituals. And so we'd love for you to share a little bit about who Matt was and who he is now, like even sometimes like catching you with your limiting beliefs sometimes.
So my husband is Chinese. He comes from a very frugal background with money. And so when I first started working with Nikki, it cost a certain amount. I was like, that's a lot. Like, are you sure? I'm like, I will give up X, Y, and Z. I'm doing this. So he's like, well, you're really serious. Okay, fine. And so those numbers are small compared to what I pay now. Which just
one-to-one work, is going to be more premium.
And so today I put like a deposit on my year with Dr. Nikki, and it was so much. And what was amazing to me is I didn't really like, oh yeah, it's this much. I'm paying it. And I told him like, I'm doing this. And he didn't squawk. He was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Which my husband 6 months ago would have just like fainted. He wouldn't have been able to handle that. Or even we were looking at like my current dream car. And so we were in a bigger city. So we test drove them. And ever since we test drove them, he's been talking like, well, like, it's this and it's that. And so he's really started like manifesting through his words and like how he's planning for this car and how he's going to live when he has his car. And so I've seen his energy shift to my husband who has this, he does these things. And so he started to embody the future self of himself. And even his openness with doing rituals. He also comes from a very strict background. And so I invited him in to do like a release ritual with me and a manifestation ritual. And he participated. He wrote down different things with me and he fell asleep. But he was there. He was there for the ritual and the meditations, which is a huge shift in him from the man that I met and the man who I lived with 6 months ago.
Wow. So you both have really undergone an incredible transformation, and I really applaud you both as a couple. It's been so, so beautiful to watch. And I'm just so grateful to be doing this work for you. Thank you for showing up and doing this great work and being an example for women. And also just by sharing your experience, like if you can do it, they can do it. And that's the point of these interviews. So thank you also for being so vulnerable and sharing. I think that's been one of the gifts of having you in the program. You really like go full in. You're like, here I am, and you're ready, willing, and eager to shift and evolve and grow and be the ultimate you. So thank you for being a beautiful example for all women, Aleana.
Thank you.
Yeah, I celebrate you and all ladies who are wanting that shift, that evolution to step into your power, reclaim your power, rise to your next level, be the ultimate woman that you are, to live your ultimate life. I invite you to book a consult with me or someone from my team, ultimatewomanuprising.com/consults. And if you go to ultimatewomanrising.com, you can also have a cheat sheet, a free cheat sheet that gives you a taste of the work. But I really invite you to book the consult and begin your journey now, because your life will transform literally in an instant. So if you're ready, we're ready for you too. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.